Well, good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Well, you know things are entering a new phase of stupidity when they first bring out the Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger going on about the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, which we know is a psyop, right? Yeah, there's something happening out there, but it's not what we're told. And he's batting on about comparing the Russian soldiers with the Nazis during World War II. Now, he said about his dad or granddad or something suffered immensely after joining the Nazis and going and fighting on the Russian front. Now, whether you believe all the war propaganda for any war is immaterial, but the fact remains that the Russians inflicted 80% casualties on the Germans.
Is your volume turned up on that?
I don't know, is it?
I don't know. Oh, press the volume button on the computer. See?
Yeah. Anyway, so I got a bit diverted there. Anyway, so yeah,
No, it's only me.
if it hadn't been for the Russians, then Germany could have possibly won World War II, which would have been a thing. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger, a semi-literate, muscle-bound pleb who made a few films like The Terminator and stuff like this, which are totally nonsense films, absolute bollocks of the highest order. Yeah, we've all watched them. Of course we have. Right? We've watched some of these other films. They're all bollocks. Right? They're all complete nonsensical, mindless entertainment, just as escapism, but some people take them as for granted. But the thing that really got me going, I saw this morning on the UK column, was Nancy Pelosi, the American Vice President, I believe she is, was sent either an email or a text by Bonio, right, from U2, saying about comparing the amazing leader of the Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, to St. Patrick, who defeated something like that in the past times, who got canonised. Anyway. Now, Bonio, right, thinks he's this great rock star because he once made a couple of records with the late great B.B. King. Now, Bonio isn't worthy in any sense of the whatever of licking the dog shit off the bottom of B.B. King's shoes. You have to be worthy to get that close to lick the shit off B.B. King's shoes. Bonio and his group, U2, who made a load of shit music.
Bono, not Bonio.
No, I call him Bonio,
right?
Because he's a moron.
Okay.
Thinks his music is brilliant. And Edge thinks he's some kind of super guitar player. No, he's not. He's a fucking average, two-chord moron, right? U2's music, there was one album which they did, which was fairly good, and that was the Joshua Tree. Apart from that, all other music, bullshit, right? It's absolute crap. It's garbage of the highest order. If you want to hear some real music from some real Irish superstars, check out people like Van Morrison and check out his album Astral Weeks. If you want to hear some really first-class music, Astral Weeks, Van Morrison. And check out bands like the Pogues, who make some good stuff. Or a band called Horselips, who were around at the same time as U2, but never got the recognition that U2 did. But they were 1,000% better than Bonio and his crowd, right? People, we live in an insane asylum when we're told that there's a war going on in Ukraine because Putin invaded the Ukraine. I've got this picture in my head, right, of Putin flying across the skies with a cape on and flashing out lightning bolts, right, are destroying Ukraine. People. And I'll say more. It's all farcical. It's all a psyop. It's stage 2 of the World Economic Forum's agenda for the digital ID and currency age. This is coming, right? This is all it is. Will they succeed? Probably not. Well, enough of us are waking up people to see through this bullshit. But unfortunately, the thing that got me was some people who I sort of thought, oh, they've seen through the previous psyop bullshit, are now believing that Putin's invaded Ukraine. So we've lost another percentage of people who I thought were at least half awake, who have now gone back to sleep, thinking that Putin's invaded the Ukraine. Look, people, come on, it's a psyop, right? What's going to be the part 3 of the psyop? The climate change hoax. And the sort of shutdown of the internet. This is coming. As Maxine will say, they will shut down the internet either fully or in parts and stop you from communicating with one another. This is part of the psyop of Klaus Schwab and his cronies at the World Economic Forum, the UN, the World Bank, the Bank of International Settlements, Chatham House, the Club of Rome, the Bilderberg Group, whoever. There's all these societies that exist that are going to turn you into a digital prisoner unless you remain awake. So again, it's all this nonsense. It's absolutely out there. You couldn't make this shit up, people. It's like, how would you do that? There's nobody creative enough to make up this bullshit. I just wonder who they're going to drag out next to say, oh, there's a war in Ukraine and the people are suffering and the great Zelensky is going to say. Meanwhile, running all over Ukraine, killing Russian-speaking peoples in the Donbass are the Azov Nazi groups who are part of the Ukrainian military, who are all being funded and supplied by us. So we're supporting Nazis. Not neo-Nazis, but actual, fully-fledged, paid-up members of the Nazis, people. I know this video is probably going to get taken down, but who cares? Let's say it, because let's call it as it is. The Ukraine is a cesspit of corruption, child trafficking, sex trafficking, drug running, money laundering, cesspit of the most gross humans ever to walk the face of the earth. And we're told, oh, we're defending the people of the Ukraine because they've been suffering because the Russians have invaded. Look, this takes you back to the 1950s. When was it McCarthy in America with the Reds under the bed? Oh, the communists are coming. The Russians are coming to eat your children. See, it's all the same people. The same people that installed the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, in 1918 are the same people running the world today. There's no difference, except now they're trying to control the entire globe, or the realm, flat earth, whichever way you want to believe it, because this is their plan. Their agenda is to completely do away with democracy, freedom of movement, the right to sovereignty over your own body. What more do you need to know? Right? This is what's occurring, people. And the head of it, although he's still a front man for the power behind that, is Klaus Schwab. Bill Gates and that have been kind of sidelined. Fauci's disappeared somewhere. That was gone, probably up his own anus. So there's now a change in the rhetoric. They're bringing out different people to push the same bullshit agenda on us. Are we going to fall for it, people? Of course we're not. We know what's going on. Anyway, it's just become a pantomime when you drag out a C movie actor, right, freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, and a complete and utter fucking delusional moron who thinks he's some great rock star, Bonio. I mean, come on, people. How much lower can this bullshit go? Right? They're literally dragging the bottom of their barrel now. I mean, come on. Schwarzenegger and Bonio. People, I don't know what to say from this point onwards. We're just in this realm of fantasy now. I don't know what's going on. I've completely lost track of what's happening. I mean, who are they going to? I mean, what was it? They dragged out some of these other people a few weeks ago. Like they've been dragging out, pop stars and movie stars who are meaningless people. There's none of them with talent. I mean, if you put 1,000 of them together, they might summon enough talent to speak about half a dozen sensible words. Doubt it. Who's that other twat? Oh, Oprah bloody Winfrey. Oprah bloody Winfrey. Are you kidding me? A morbidly obese human being, if there ever was one. Right? She's probably suffering from more illnesses than you can shake a stick at. And they dragged these people out. They're supposed to be telling us what to do. If you want to know what's going on, go and check out Tom McDonald on YouTube. A man with his finger on the pulse who makes songs, rap songs, about what's really going on. He's quite a talented young man. Don't know how old he is, but I like his music. And there's a few other rap stars that follow him out there. We got one in the UK called Zuby. Check out Zuby. Says it as it is. Sees through the bullshit and speaks the truth. This is what we need to do. Just speak the truth. Speaking the truth is becoming a revolutionary act, people. This is what it is, right? Speaking the truth becomes a revolutionary act in times of universal deceit. And we are being deceived on a scale unseen in human history. COVID-19, Russian invasion of the Ukraine, global warming, climate change, and Greta Thunberg, how dare you! People say, I told you, we live in a lunatic asylum, pure and simple. And they're going to drag more and more of these people out. I mean, there was something I was listening to the Corbett report, I can't remember the woman's name. This is a woman who wants us all to have a digital ID. Digital prison, and the majority of the population, unfortunately, are going to fall for it. Hook, line, and bloody sinker. I'm sorry now, but I think a huge amount of the population are completely and utterly beyond help now. I mean, the other day, there was a thing about the MHRA had one of their board meetings, and they've edited that to death. Apparently, in the UK, they've issued out 139 million doses of the jab. It's believed that about a third of the vials might have been a placebo. But let's assume that the majority of people have had their 3 jabs, which means that about 45 million people in the UK have been triple jabbed. Now, we don't know how many of them were placebos or whatever, but let's give it another 5 million placebos. So we've got 40 million people, at minimum, have been triple jabbed. But also, let's take into equation that some people might only had 2 jabs or 1 jab. So we could be looking, going back the other way, at 50 million people who've had at least 1 jab. Now, what's their future going to be? It's hard to say. Are they all going to die, as Brother Alexis Spinola would say? So if we take the logic like that, how many people have been injected globally? Well, the last figure I heard was approaching 5.5 billion people. Well, there's been 5.5 billion doses of the jab rolled out across the globe, or the flat earth, whichever way we look at it again. It's up to you. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. So let's assume that's right. So that's 2 billion people, say approximately, that have had the jab, fully loaded. And as Brother Alexis Brunano said, he said a few months ago that 2 billion people will be dead within a year. So we've got to the end of this year to find out if he's right, or if some of the others saying, anybody, some people saying that anybody who's had the jab, even just one, will be dead within 3 years. Anyway, it's immaterial. It doesn't really matter. They're probably all dead anyway. So they're walking around zombies. Who knows where it's going? But people, I mean, I don't know what else they're going to put off. I was like, we'll have a shut down the internet. and blame it on the Russians, cyber attack. But at the end of the day, and this is the thing, all these politicians, all of them, right, I believe, this is my opinion, are controlled by this central power thing, wherever it is. Whoever these handful of people that will fit in one room, this is the real centre of the power brokers, control it all. And everything that occurs is part of the PSYOP game. It's designed to confuse and divide people. End of story. And they're succeeding to a huge degree. Now, you know and I know that 20% of us at least are awake still. So we're not suffering from the mass formation psychosis as purported by, I think his name now, the psychologist who wrote the book about the tyranny that goes on. But we're at a point where I think we're going to lose an awful lot more people along the way, and there aren't going to be many of us left standing. So somebody the other day said, to find out who your tribe is, speak your truth and find out who sticks around. That's your tribe. I firmly believe that at some point in the future that we may have to up and leave where we are. That goes for a lot of us that are awake, the enlightened 20%, or maybe less than 20%. We just don't know. But it's getting to that point now. I don't know how many more people are going to fall for the bullshit propaganda, Agenda 2030, whatever you want to call it, crap that's coming out of the mouths of Klaus Schwab and his cronies. Just these people are all bought and paid for. They're just reading a script by the power brokers, you know. As David Icke would say, you know, there is this underlying control group behind what's going on. I don't agree with everything David Icke says. I think he goes off on tangents and repeats himself a lot, but he does put a few good points out. Max Egan puts a lot of good points out. So you've just got to look at it and do your own research and come to your own conclusions. What do you think's real or not? You know, but you can see the pattern emerging, whether you believe them all or not. There is a pattern emerging that's unfolding. Each bit is another part of the puzzle, leading to the total subjugation of the human race, if we allow it. If we allow it, I'm not going to allow it. Digital ID thing. You can come and try it. Right? I say to anybody that works within the system, come and try and impose your digital ID on me and see how far it gets you. Ain't gonna wash, Pete. Ain't gonna wash because I'm too awake, and reasonably intelligent to fall for this bullshit. You know, unfortunately, the majority of the population aren't. You know, they're just beyond. I mean, it's like somebody said the other day. People that got a mask on, things like that now, don't even engage with them. It ain't worth it because you could, as somebody said, all you're doing is talking to the television. Somebody said once, I will talk to anyone who doesn't watch the television for their information. But the problem is, if you try and engage these people, you won't get through to them because you can't talk to the television. Television doesn't talk. So these people are getting their information from the Bolshevik Broadcasting Company, amongst others, who is the propaganda arm for the Communist Party of the UK, commonly known as the Houses of Parliament. There's not a single member of the government who is actually got your best interest. I don't know about the sort of rank and file MPs behind the thing, but if I was them, I'd leave or round up the government leaders and put them out on trial and whatever they do to them, because they're an absolute disgrace. And when you saw, I think a week or two back, you had the entire Houses of Parliament in the UK loaded up to everybody was there. The chambers were packed with all the MPs. As I said in one of my videos, acting like demented seals, clapping on Zelensky because he appeared on a TV screen in House of Commons. And it's just happened in America as well. You've got the entire American Congress and Senate, whatever they call the things out there, clapping, oh, we support Ukraine, and Zelensky, this is great. No, Zelensky is a B-movie actor worse than fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. He once played in a comedy program called, I can't remember what it's called, but he played the president of the Ukraine in a comedy program, right? And now he's the president. Don't figure, is it? And who have we got? Oh, yeah. Because we shut down the Russian gas and oil pipelines, which is what's leading to the hikes in energy costs, because we've got to go. We've now got Boris the Bolshevik running cap in hand to the Arab camel jockeys in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, pleading up gas and oil production because we're running out of stuff. Now, here's the thing. The UAE and Saudi Arabia, who again are supplying more weapons to us, have been bombing the fuck out of Yemen for the last 10, 12 years. Where's the outrage about that, people? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of members of one of the poorest countries on the planet are being systematically slaughtered by the Saudis. But nothing's ever said about that. Oh no, because whatever, people. The rank hypocrisy is absolutely out there. It's outrageous that we got our leader, Boris the Bolshevik of the Johnson. People, I mean, seriously, how much longer are we going to put up with these people before we remove them from office? Because it's going to have to be done sooner or later. And the whole world's going to have to realise that you've been fooled for the last 2 years, and now you're still being fooled again. It's all a theatre. It's all part of the play. First we have COVID. Now we've got Ukraine. Next is going to be the internet shutdown, which they had a name for, which was called, if I remember rightly, the names escape me what they called it. Anyway, it's all about shutting the internet down either completely or in little bits to confuse people because they can't contact anybody on the internet. And then they say it'll be the climate change bullshit. We've got to shut down. We've got to lock people indoors because climate change is killing your granny. Oh, it's not COVID anymore, it's a climate change. How dare you? People. Yeah, whatever. We've got to we're getting to the nonsense part of it now. It's becoming a joke. Oh, and here's the thing for you, right? I was watching the Corbett report, and you know how they keep going on about net zero carbon emissions by 2050 or something. Now they want absolute zero, not just net zero emissions, but absolute zero. Right, CO2, right, carbon dioxide, otherwise known as the gas of life. Oh, what do you mean gas of life? CO2, isn't that poisoning the planet? No, people. CO2, carbon dioxide, is plant food. If you reduce CO2 to zero, all the plants die off, followed by us. Because without the plants, guess what else disappears? A little known gas, which we were on, called oxygen. Oh, fucking hell, I didn't realise that. See, plant food is CO2, and our food is oxygen. Oh, didn't know that. I do now. How dare you? People. So let's.
Is that Greta?
That's Greta. Yeah. How dare you? Stealing my future. Yeah, all right, Greta. Get off your high horse, darling. You know, go back to school and learn some bullshit from that, or go and read a book about what CO2 actually does. CO2 is poisoning the planet. Look, according to people who actually know what they're talking about, the optimum level of CO2 in the atmosphere for optimum plant growth is 2,000 parts per million. At the moment, it stands at about 418 parts, I believe, per million. It might be 415, but somewhere around 415, 418 parts per million. But their aim by 2030 is to reduce it to 180 parts per million. Oh dear, that's the end of life on Earth.
It's the end of the
It-
road.
People,
Yes,
this is the agenda. They don't care. They want us gone. They want us gone. And what so that they can then sort of ramp up using fossil fuels again for themselves and have the planet to themselves. These, I don't know, 30, 40, 50,000 people that kind of run the world. Maybe with a few people hanging on to serve their needs. In other words, human chattel. Sorry, they ain't going to get me like that. People, they ain't going to work. These people now are living in a delusion, think they've got a hand on things. No, they fucking don't. There will be events unfolding, not caused by them. There will be events unfolding that they have no control over. I don't know what it's going to be. It could be Mother Nature deciding, I've had enough of fight back. She could create volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, whatever, to take the system down. But the fact is, their system, bullshit system, based on the monetary system, is at its end. Which is why they're desperate to introduce a central bank digital currency, do away with cash, and give you all a digital ID so they can track wherever you go. Now, what's the tracking device? Your smartphone. So within the next year or so, you're going to have to throw your smartphone away and find some other form of communication, like, I don't know, ham radios and shortwave radios or but I don't know, anything. But you're going to have to throw your smartphone away because as long as you keep using that, they're going to know where you are, what you're doing at all times of the day. This is their plan. And they can do it because it's their system. See, they can do anything they like with their system. So you have to move away or remove yourself from the system. Will that happen? Absolutely guaranteed. We as the awakened and the enlightened, are going to have to physically remove ourselves from their grasp by no later than 2030, if not before. So we're going to have to decide where it is we want to be within the next 5 to 6 years, 8 years, whatever. Because you've got two choices. You can either allow yourself to be herded into the cities. And here's the thing. In Australia, they've just had some of the worst floods that's ever recorded living memory. And the government have turned around and people said, don't rebuild there because we're not going to help you. You're going to have to move to cities. See, this is what they want to do. They want to move the populations into the so-called smart cities. This is actual fact. So they want people in the cities living in rabbit hutches, where, as Klaus Schwab will tell you, by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy. How dare you? This is the plan. They want everybody. They want all the sheep and all the brain dead being in the cities where they can control you. Because if you're living off grid, it's going to be very difficult to control you, because they don't have the manpower outside of their smart grid cities to run around the countryside, rounding everybody up. They'll persuade people that you must move into the cities for your safety. See, look, if you give up your liberty, I can't remember the American president said it. It might have been Roosevelt. If you give up your freedom for a sense and your liberty for a sense of safety, you deserve neither. Freedom and liberty are paramount to being a human being. Safety is slavery. Right? This is what they're trying to do. It's like, and everything they do, like, I can't remember where this comes from, but it goes like this. I can't remember where the quote comes from. Government is violence. Tax is theft. And debt is slavery. And guess what? We live in a system controlled by government who run a tax system which is theft of your wealth and gives you a debt-based monetary system which keeps you in constant poverty. That's how it works, people. But you've got to break away from it. Not enough people realise that. The monetary system, now, I heard the other day, and I've checked this out, and this is true, that 40%, we have to say the dollar, because the dollar is still the world's reserve currency at the moment, right? So all trade is done international trade is done in dollars. You have to check it out for yourself. It's pretty complicated. But basically, 40% of all the dollars in existence were printed or created last year to pay for the farcical nonsense of COVID-19. And it's just bankrupted every single country. I think every country is bankrupt. I don't think there's a single country that now, unless they've been outside of the international banking system run by the Rothschilds. So any country that's outside that might be reasonably okay. I don't know 100% better than us. Because we, in the UK, our country is completely bankrupt. So all this money they've been printing up and paying out for furlough, where did it come from? Out of thin air. Right? Because there is no money. The banks now don't have to hold any currency in reserve. And this came about in 2019, late 2019, just before the illusionary mass murdering pathogen called COVID-19 was running all over the world, killing everybody. Anyway, so the monetary system is a complete psyop farce. Unless any country's now got gold in their coffers, you've got nothing, or silver. And as for digital currencies like Bitcoin and Monero and Ethereum and Pirate Chain, all these. Now, yes, a lot of people have made a lot of money off these things since they first came about 12, 15 years ago. And Jeff Berwick, who I like, purports using BitChain. But what happens if the power grid goes down completely and never comes back on? Which is possible. Where's your Bitcoin gone? Where's your Ethereum? Where's your Monero gone? Because it's all on a blockchain, which is on the internet. So if there's no power and there's no internet, nobody's got anything. Which is why I always say, and I agree with James Corbett on this point, that you need gold and silver or something physical that you can trade. Going back to a trading system, a system based on trust and whatever you can do to contribute to your community. So a trust-based economy. Not necessarily one with money, but a trust-based economy where somebody builds a reputation of, say, making the best shoes or the best clothing or whatever. This is where we're headed because the currency system and the Four Horsemen documentary, which I urge everybody to watch, I keep repeating this, everybody listen to my voice, go and watch the Four Horsemen documentary by Ross Ashcroft and the Renegade Economist team, because it will enlighten you more than I can. It will tell you exactly what's going on and why everything that's happening is happening. It's the end of empire. And this is the final empire. This was an attempt at a global empire, which they're still trying to push. But it will fail because what reason all these empires fail is because of debasement of the currency and a little known thing called hyperinflation. Now, the other day they were saying that inflation was somewhere around about 7 or 8%. The truth is probably more than 20, but I reckon it's higher than that because they say to you inflation is due to price hikes. No, it's not. It's due to too much money. It's too much currency in the system, chasing the same amount of goods as always been there. So prices go up and up and up and up to the point where living in the system becomes almost impossible. Zimbabwe was a recent idea where I think they ended up printing I do believe, I could be wrong with this, that they actually ended up printing a $100 million or pound note. This is worth about £1. But you don't have to add zeros to it though, you just increase the amount of actual currency digitally on the system. So you can expand the currency to however you like. So let's say that 2 years ago they had $300 trillion within the monetary system. They've now got 600 trillion. So they've doubled the money supply in 2 years. But the amount of goods and services haven't gone up. They've gone down. So you've now got, although we don't see the money, the elites see it first. By the time we see it, it's worth nothing anyway. So you end up with all this money that you're apparently earning because you go to work and you ain't got anything. If as I said before, if you think you've got money in the bank, no, you don't. No. The bank's got money, well, currency, not money, because it doesn't exist. Because there is nothing in reserve anymore. And the cash machines, the holding wall machines, the ATMs, if everybody was to suss out they've been conned and they're all to run to the bank, to the cash machines, or go inside the bank and demand their money, within no more than an hour, all the physical currency in the system would be gone. So the first couple of hundred people would probably be able to get their money out. Anyway, after that, tough luck, you've got nothing. And it doesn't matter whether you've won 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 100 million on some lottery or horseback, whatever, because it doesn't exist. There's no physical currency. It's digits on a computer screen. So anybody that did have money or has won money, the best thing to do with it, if you were fortunate enough to win enough, is to go out and buy stuff with it while it still kind of exists within the digital system. But some of the best things to buy with it is property, land, gold, silver, or livestock, whatever. Something of a tangible value, because the currency doesn't have any value apart from what the government says that it has. The only real money, and it's always been throughout history, any proper economist will tell you that in the end, the only true money, not currency, money, is gold and silver and copper to an extent. But the real money is gold or silver. An ounce of gold has always had an intrinsic value in a specific time. In Roman times, an ounce of gold would buy you the best toga, sandals, and etc. to go with that. In the 1930s and 40s, it would buy you the best tailor-made suit, shoes, shirt, hat, lot for an ounce of gold. It wasn't the fact that gold was considered to be worth $35 in monetary terms. It was what it was perceived by the person who was giving it to be worth, not what the government said. In time, going forward from now, who knows, 20, 30 years from now, an ounce of gold will probably buy your house when house prices become the proper value. This is, again, house prices. Let's take house prices. How much is your house worth? If you own your house, how much is it worth? What did you pay for it? 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, half a million, million? How much is it actually worth? A percentage of that. There's no house, even say a 10-bed mansion anywhere, it's not worth more than £100,000. An average house, say a good old 3-bedroom house with a reasonable garden, 20 grand, 30 grand tops in real terms. But because of inflation, you can't see the inflation of currencies and rigging of the system, they convince you the house is worth 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. No, it's not. It's not. It's worth 20 to 30,000. The average house, 3-bed house. That's all it's worth. It's not worth 300,000 or 400,000. 20 to 30,000 is the true value of the house. But what are you doing? You're paying a mortgage, which you're never going to pay off in a lifetime. You're always going to be owing money to the system because it's rigged that way. Anyway, people, look, we truly are in the biblical end times, if you want to put it that way. The society that we've lived in for the last 250, 260 years or so, which was invented by the Freemasons and their ilk, right, to enslave you, is in its last end. It's on its way out. What comes after? I've no idea. Will there be another empire after it? Not a clue. Would it be the Chinese? Who knows? Will there be another empire?
It'll be women.
Or will there be another empire? If we firmly believe that part of their plan was to reduce the human population down to 10 or 20% of what it is now. Have they succeeded with that? Probably not. They've got a fair chunk of it, probably. But I don't think there will ever be another empire. I think things are going to move in a more enlightened way. And what's left of humanity, like us, is going to be facing a way different future, a more, dare I say, spiritually based future, a more enlightened, awakened future, away from government systems of corruption and to a more normal way of being, like the Native Americans who live with nature. This is where we're going to go back to. I don't see any way forward for humanity. If we keep going down this path of we must own this and we must own that, we're never going to achieve any enlightenment at all. But if we move away from the idea that you must own stuff, not the way that the world of course says you will own nothing and be happy. What I'm talking about is only having what you actually need, rather than what you feel you need, because you don't need most of it. You don't need a mobile phone, and you don't need things like televisions. You don't need computers such like they're useful, but you don't need them. You don't need hi-fi systems or anything like that, and you don't need to belong to a system where they charge you to live. We can move away from that. It's going to take some doing. There's going to be some hardships along the way doing it. But how would you rather live? Would you rather live where every day you go up and do something and it's you doing it for you and your local community? Or do we keep carrying on, allowing a bunch of parasites to dictate what we do? I'd rather live day to day and have to go and hunt or grow food and live a more simplistic way of life than spend the rest of what's left of my life kowtowing into a bunch of parasites. Because they got no more authority over me than anybody else. The only authority they've got is what you allow them to have. You know, walk away from it. We're going to have to in the end anyway, because this is all coming to a head. But in the next 2 to 3 years, I think it's all going to come to a head. I think the whole system is either going to crash, or we're going to end up living in a totally dystopian world. And I don't want to live in a dystopian world. I'm hoping the whole edifice comes crashing down. And we then just have to get on with it. Because, as I said before, when the edifice comes down, there's two choices. You've got to sit around in your house just with nothing working, because there's no gas military or nothing like that, and wait for somebody to hopefully come and fix it. Or you get off your ass and do something. I prefer to get up off your ass and do something, even if it's hard work. Nothing wrong with a bit of hard work, people. Anyway, people, I'm going to sign off. Ranted on for long enough. Anyway, I hope this has brought some kind of enlightenment to you about what's going on, especially dragging out, as I say, Bonio and Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. I mean, this is. I was nearly laughing so much I could split my sides, bringing out, C-movie actors and people with delusion of grandeur like Bonio. I mean, the man's. I've got more talent in the little nail on my finger than Bonio. That's saying something. Anyway, peace, people. Take care.